Gosford will tip this away to make it 2-0, and almost an improbable comeback for the Army to try and pull off with 90 seconds left to go. The way they've been playing the RAF Storm Shadows, they're currently unstoppable.
The RAF Storm Shadows, an incredible goal. They've done it again, and it's 2-0 now, and it's 3-0 now. The lead looking unassailable.
Away, gives Ed some time here on the sidewall, gets it up. Piers on the backboard lurking. Is Ed going to get this one away? No, but Envy's going to be there. Envy's going to tuck it away. It's 4-1 to the RAF Storm Shadows. Rose-tinted glasses are on, and I don't care. It is game over. The RAF have trampled the Army. 4-1, could be 5-1. I don't care what the scoreline is. It's going to be game over with 1:06 left to go. You're going to have me in the commentary box. I'm going to be hyping the boys the entire time, not just the Storm Shadows, the Sentinels and the Shadows as well, as this game comes to a close with almost P tucking away a very nice shot there, just drops at the death. Storm Shadows 3, the Army Sparrows 1, and well, the Storm Shadows did it in fashion late on.
Hi, I'm AS1T Stelios Elia. In-game, I am known as SE1997.
Corporal Elliot Greenwood, and in-game I'm known as G-Wood.
My name is AS1 Tech Edward Nussey-Waite, otherwise known as Cedric in-game.
It's already looking like they've upped the bar from last year, which is a really tough job to even do that. We are looking forward, not just myself, but as a team, to going out on that stage and representing the Royal Air Force as best as we can.
Playing up on a stage like this is the first time. We had a thing called Rank A, where it was all the top players played against each other, and then we picked our teams. I've finally made it into the first team after a lot of hard work.
Both my teammates are really talented. We gel super well. Really looking forward to playing with them on stage and seeing what we can do.
From mine, the leadership were outstanding, no issues at all.
Not just from my own personal line management, but also the Royal Air Force Esports Association backed us very well, I should say, and made sure we had all the support we needed to get here, and they're always a phone call away if we do need them for anything.
Really excited to play Coast Guard. It'll be closer than everyone thinks after playing, then we think we stand a bit of a fighting chance.
The second Air Force team, emphasis on second there. We're a solid team, three really good players who could do some damage for sure.
Although we are in different forces across NATO, we are colleagues, so it's nice to meet them in person and just have a laugh and play against them and hopefully beat them as well.
You ready? AFG, you're washed.
Coast Guard, you ain't as good as you think you are. We're coming for you.
Space Force, stick to mini golf.
We're going to win it.
No, we're not.
We're going to win it. We're going all the way.
I thought it was good until I saw them play. The Americans will never hear the end of it if we end up winning somehow.
Look, I'll shake on it. You know me, I don't drink. I will drink heavily if we win.
That the pressure put down. Stelios with no boost thrown into corner will be wildly out of position. G-Wood needs to put it to the air. Don't go towards net on this one. Instead, Cedric go for the double touch. It's a beautiful finisher. 19 seconds into OT, and the RAF already going to match point.
That's right, boys. Once again, I'm joined alongside none other than Stelios. Stelios, at the very start of that match, you pointed out the fact that the strategy was aggression, was confidence. Do you personally feel like you guys delivered on all fronts?
Yeah, it was a series that we just stuck to the plan and executed it to perfection. I felt really good myself. I felt the other boys also played their part individually, and then we executed the plan as a team together. It was almost perfection, which means we've got to live up to that in the next round as well. So we can't just rest on our laurels. We've got to take it forward.
Well, for you personally, you were the first one to score goals across, I think, 2 or 3 of those matches that we saw there as well. Was that part of the game plan for you to be the force of nature, as it were, in this matchup?
I'm certainly a force of nature, but usually not in front of goal. It's usually Cedric or G-Wood that are bagging the goals when it counts. However, the way we're set up is, it doesn't matter who has the chance to score. It could be any one of us. The way we play, we create spaces for anyone to score. And it just so happened that it was me that was in the prime position to put it in the back of the net, and thankfully I did.
Half, but not for too much longer. Sentinels have broken free, although only momentarily. Now into the retreat, Cedric and Asher, not for the first time today, failing to meet the problem at the source.
That's Cedric though. Air gets just the tiniest of the resets on that ball, but it pushes it just over the edge where Asher cannot grab it.
And there's an equal response from Sames. Asher in the interception, but straight to Chewood. Oh, and he shoots just past the post. Stelios! 2-2 at last. Another sucker punch. How strong is that proverbial jawline? And actually, you can see the severity of the situation. There's no smiles. And Sames, again, waits it out. Stelios now looking for Cedric. Oh, that's a beautiful layoff.
For Storm Shadows. Of course, we're going to be showcasing the other lower bracket match as well. It's going to be coming up on your screen later on. Just a quick cut where there's only one life for the team and there is no field for mistakes.
I feel like it's easier said than done. I also worry that this might be too simple a statement to make of the situation, Jam. For the Sentinels, is it really as clear-cut as get it? And all the while, time being burned off the clock. Still 2-1 Sentinels, but that's going to change very quickly. I feel like I put on my crown, Jam. The King of Cursed is back.
Parchement as well to look and demo or bump the player out of the way. Not on that attempt. I'm pretty sure Storm Shadows will be thinking about it. That's certainly one thing on Cedric's mind though. Golds, golds, and more golds.
And Cedric actually just lays off, allows Sames the room, but then wiggles his way through all on his own. Cedric to G-Wood! It's a save, but it's not enough! 2-1 Storm Shadows!
The ball caroms off the oncoming player with a series-winning goal scored just 30 or so seconds before the end of the game. It is the Royal Air Force Storm.
Spirited a performance as that was. Let us not forget that they have now tripled their game output in a single. Do apply. And that resource will eventually run out in the form of boost. Oh, very sneaky from Cedric. Lovely flick over the top of everybody. Oh, it's a spectacular from Cedric.
Space Force just a little bit. Exchange of long-range efforts, but I do love the proactivity and Reed's shot. Cedric denies it. Crossbar post out.
That is fortuitous. And now they're down the other side with a potential opportunity. G-Wood snuffed at the near post. 3 minutes plus! And they don't need the 3 minutes plus, just shy of. Cedric with a stunner. And it's match point for the Storm Shadows. Doubling up now. This suits Space Force just fine. 1-0 advantage. A slender one, yes, but one nonetheless. And Space Force relying a lot more on demos, but who needs demos, Jam? Where you've got G-Wood, what a redirect. Sometimes you got to throw that experience out the window and play the game in front of you. But I'm not going to commit to a certain way of thinking. I'll let you as the audience decide. And I'll let these players on the pitch decide. I tell you what, G-Wood is getting a bit of a handle, a bit of a knack on creating these goals out of nothing.
They do so gracefully.
You know, Space Force press not as intensive as I would like to see personally, and that's allowing the Storm Shadows not just time on the ball to get out of defense, but to get shots away, Jam, and Stelios has just put them ahead.
Cannot get it out as far as the midfield line. Still keep on returning. Cedric sees that there's just no opportunity for Ethan to raise it down from his head, and Cedric wins it in overtime for Royal Air Force. A 7-game thriller with 1 extra minute of the overtime. He is the absolute star player of that Storm Shadow side.
The runners-up rise. RAF Storm Shadows continue their lower bracket journey. The Space Force valiant until the end. But in the end, it was Cedric, a man who made a couple of mistakes earlier on, a man who let Space Force back into the game, who truly struts his stuff when it matters most. Wow.
Stelios, the most animated.
Stel, talk to me, because we had a few overtimes in this series as a whole. Game number 3 in particular, you were looking incredibly stressed. So comms between your team, I'm assuming, were a little bit chaotic.
At times it was very, very chaotic. Yeah, you're right. You're spot on with that. And in those moments, it's actually Cedric, or as we know him, Ed, who takes a second just to scream out comms, 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 comms. And then in that moment, we snap back in from whatever dream we were in previously, and we're back in, we're locked in again. And it happened on so many occasions. You would not believe where he was trying to calm us all down and get back into the game mentally wise. And And in the end, as you can see, it paid off.
It absolutely did. But you know what, Stel? In particular, yourself and your team are big on demo reviews, actually putting in the grind, the time and effort that it takes to perform well on stage as well. I'm pretty sure you're one of the only teams to actually do that here. So yesterday's kind of debugs, shall we say, after the performances, what did you guys get up to?
We found a lot of misrotations and a lot of gaps in communication as well. Like when you're watching the replays, you know what you were saying at the time. You can recall it pretty well. And we found a lot of gaps in our comms. We weren't saying things clearly enough or concise enough, and we were getting confused and double committing. I would say the reason why we have to do such a thing is because we don't have, at least I don't have, the skill level that some of these opponents have, like these great American players and even the French. So we've got to make up for it in some way, right? And replay analysis is one of those ways that we do it.
And I was actually chilling there with the rest of your team, watching the game as well. And I gotta say, these boys need some kind of oomph to them, because their support for you boys has been incredibly quiet. So this is your opportunity to have words of wisdom with them.
We're going all the way, Asher. We're going all the way, Shay. Strap in. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Thank you so much for joining me, Stel, and best of luck.
Thank you very much.
How many musical puns we can work into this broadcast during this series. Cedric, individual effort versus 3, as if it's nothing. Always, those cars are not in the game. That's a big crime. We need more of those.
Technically, the Formula 1 Renault car could be on there, but Cedric is on here. The double block.
Good evening and welcome back once more for a surprise stream, as some may say, on the RAF Storm Shadows YouTube and Twitch and RAF YouTube esports YouTube channels, potentially for the last time this year. Now, before we get into the action, I would, as you can quite clearly on your screen, see clearly on your screens, like to introduce to you a very special guest of the RAF Storm Shadows community, somebody that has been around all the teams for many, many years now. It is none other than Danny Boy. And before I ask you how you are doing, the irony is quite cool tonight, I think, Danny. You were here when the teams first formed, all 4 RAF teams, white, red, blue, and black as it was known back then, to now, where you're watching a token match between a brand new roster. I think it's quite fitting that we welcome you back onto the channel after a short break on this fixture. How are you doing, Danny?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for that introduction. It's starting to feel like I've got a CV here that's bigger than my age or waistline at the moment, so I'm a bit worried. But I'm fantastic here because I was watching the inter-service, and I was looking at it, and the Tempest under a different name that wasn't a G-Wood or a Sames or something like that. I know there was obviously circumstances behind that, and just looking at sort of going how 1 year ago, 2, 3, and etc. it goes, and suddenly here we're at this stage here, and let's not forget when the idea of just the colors becomes the actual names behind these rosters. At one point there was 5, 6 names being mentioned. Then suddenly here a dwindling, was a decline coming. No, it was when the grassroots itself, so to speak, was prospering quite large here, to the point here where a man who once was at the bottom of the pecking order challenges the Tempest. Now suddenly finds himself the captain, no longer the young gun, the experienced one, on one of our teams tonight still. So how fantastic, somewhat of a full circle this is going to be here.
Absolutely a full circle moment. And for those who haven't followed, following into services, the captain, well, I say captain, a player of the RAF Shadows, Doromus, formerly parted ways with the RAF Shadows and formed a new roster, which actually ended up breaking up the former Vulcans to make the new Vulcans, which is Doromus, Jonesy, Bale, and I Halves, which you'll see tonight in action against the brand new roster of the RAF Harriers, who, because they formed quicker than the RAF Vulcans did, are currently 5th. I have given both teams the signal. This token match is for 5th place, Danny. And given your knowledge and experience, but not with all of these players, how do you see this one going?
I'm actually quite surprised here, because it was some sense here, I think I played rugby with half the lobby, but not necessarily on the one side of the full team here. But I'll have to sit here and go tactically on the 6th place team with the man that has more name changes than everybody else here with Bale's opening goal. This is the side, I would imagine, who will be 5th this evening after, of course, the results finish.
Danny, you are sounding crispy as always in my ears, as I nearly just die for some unknown reason. Well, I did survive it, thankfully. And Aromas loops that one onto the net. It is the Harriers starting off with a 2-goal deficit. And it's Spen, Frosty, and Charlie Sierra. The starting lineup for them, of course, 4 available for both sides of the pitch, I believe. And for the Vulcans, they are starting off with Bale, Jonesy, and Aromas, with, I believe it is Halves on the bench under the name Stephen Andrews. Now, plenty to play for here tonight for both sides. The Harriers, of course, on paper, the vastly more inexperienced side. But as they showed against the RAF Hurricanes literally yesterday, or was it the day before yesterday, they've got something about them. They have a level of organisation to them that most new teams don't get. But they are getting a rather rude awakening here early on, as they are already 3 goals down within 35 seconds.
Certainly so here, and if we want to talk about rude awakening here, and before even we went live here, and just to peek behind the veil to anybody's listening here, and still refer to, you're a veteran here, and you have the scene here where you sort of going, oh, sure, clearly not here, sort of in disbelief. I mean, still, we remember back in the day here when the red team, as it was known here, when Logan and G Wood as the 4th goal gets run on in here, and suddenly, how good they can be, and potentially challenges, and when the first ever inter-service here, with Tempest was potentially going to win here, and then suddenly Logan, not necessarily drops off here, but drops into the Shadows team, and suddenly here, it's just not a 2-horse race. A third one comes in due to the fact that quality is being spread around here. This is essentially Jerome's opportunity to do the same here.
It is, and that's a wonderful effort by Jonesy, by the way. Coming off that right-hand side wall, met it cleanly in the air, and you could see the hesitation from the Harriers players at this moment in time. It's not doing them any good. They must play a bit more disrespectfully, if that makes sense, against this Vulcan side. They're getting far too much time in the air, far too much time to do as they please. And to be fair to them, they are making easy work right now of the RAF Harriers. This is a talented Vulcans roster, make no mistake about it, as Bale goes for a solo, beats 3 players. But in the end, a good save. I believe it was the car of Frosty that got it done in the end. And we're 5-0, 5 goals up already, and it's still not even the halfway point. This could get pretty rough as a game 1 for the Harriers. But, Danny, there is always a but. Now, a rough start doesn't always mean a rough series. It could also be a quick warm-up into the speed that you need to play at against certain players that you've never played before. Don't forget, this is a brand new matchup. We've never seen it before. We don't know what to expect from these 2 sets of players. We know that the Hurricanes were pretty surprised yesterday by the RAF Harriers. The Vulcans could have been watching. It certainly looks like they were studying and watching. And they just trust their ability on the ball. They trust their communication together. Even with such a short amount of time as a roster, they're looking pretty good so far.
Certainly are here. I mean, you don't have to sort of catch your eyes here. And, we'll use the inter-service here and go to wide of the field here, just in case of any of the others branches are listening tonight here, or even BFBS here. Who put a fantastic show on a few weeks ago. The Navy themselves here, at one sense here, really didn't have any lineup. Suddenly they brought in 2 reasonably rosters when Horizons came out of nowhere.
It was so good to see him back, by the way.
Here, that beard here got a lot more. It was impressive. I was almost surprised by it. But the point is here, suddenly out of nowhere, 6 months here, they have a team that is essentially competing that they didn't have all season long here. This is the 5th and 16th here, where Charlie Serrano, who we all love and know behind the scenes and what he does. At one sense here, let me have a go here. That was originally the attitude here. So the fact that they're, let's say, not match sharp here for the first ever time here, I'm not panicking. They shouldn't be panicking. They should be looking at this and sort of going, let's have fun with this evening.
Right, and I think that is the approach that they are going to take. They're not expecting to win here tonight, but as you say, it's a free shot. And to be fair to them, they have stemmed the flow of goals going in against them in this last couple of minutes, and it's been a much cleaner last 2, and that's a nice shot and goal. And they could have had a couple of goals had they been a slightly more clinical with their chances, because do you know what? They have created in this last couple of minutes. They are looking a little better. They are looking a little bit more settled now here in game 1. And the beauty of it, as that one sneaks through but Spen cleans up, is it's a best of 7. Yes, it's a token match, but it is a bit of a marathon. Like, No need to panic after just game 1. And you can see there's a bit of double commits coming out of Roman, of this new Vulcan side, who also have to find their rhythm with each other. And aside from the fast start, they somewhat look like they've settled now, the Harriers, on the other side of the pitch. And I'm kind of curious now as to what's going to happen in game 2, as that one finds the back of the net. Another screamer from Doromus, who, importantly, doesn't want to be known as the Vulcans captain, but certainly wants to be known as the Vulcans IGL. Is that the same thing? On paper, no. But will it serve as the same thing? I think so.
To some extent, I'm surprised here. Usually, the IGL is the captain here, so is this sort of, and I'll happily sort of mention it, is this sort of like a Liverpool mindset here? They're doing obviously quite well in the Premiership here. Long may that continue.
No.
Oh, hold on here. You haven't got to the full point here still. 2 Man United fans here. We're one of us here celebrating Liverpool. Come on here still. We're quite literally here. Van Dijk here's meant to be, but on field here you have 4 or 5 vice captains. Experienced lineups. The big people will stand here and come up. Here's the opening goal here for them. Gets tapped on in by Frosty, but a little bit too late here. But the key bit is maybe the captain's the man better suited off the pitch here, but Lynn Roman used his experience of it. If they're spreading the duties that way, maybe and perhaps much better that way. But when you have a new roster as fresh as they are here, personally I'm not a fan of it, but time will tell here.
6-1 the scoreline here in game 1. A much improved performance in the latter half of the game for the RAF Harriers, as Snail or Bale or Dr. Bale, whatever you want to call him, redirects that one home from the past of Jonesy. Knew he had time in the air, and the Brazil achieved here in game 1. And I was just going to say, they picked up momentum by scoring the last goal in that game, but that was pretty much responded to instantaneously by the Vulcans through that wonderful goal for Snail, who dropped, by the way, 827 points in that first game. 3 assists, 3 goals. A stand-up performance from Vulcans. Jonesy as well, and Doromus, of course, having good games. A good start then for the Vulcans. They will see it as business as usual. But on the other side of the pitch, I just get the sense that something is brewing, and that the games won't be as far apart going into game number 2. I could, of course, be wrong. I'm sure you will tell me.
Well, at the moment here, I hit Bale for scoring. I literally wrote 6-1 as the one went in here. But, can you not just make my life easier this season? But, that may be the sort of the sentiment of it, can it be easier? Well, the fact that the rosters here are, effectively swapping and changing who's, going across Spicely here in terms of the Vulcans lineup. You're right still in terms of what I sort of tell you, can things get better, improve here? Already, yes.
What a phenomenal finish by Frosty at that near post. Takes one touch past Snail and just rifles it into the near post. Stephen Andrews halves tried to tip it onto the bar, tried to tip it away, but the Harriers take an early lead. And the combination of Sven, Charlie, Sierra and Frosty doing the business here early on, can they maintain? So far they've come out off the kickoff into the Vulcans half as Jonesy and Snail look to combine, and well, there hasn't been an instant response. And it's much better already from the Harriers as Snail looks to equalise off the crossbar twice. A slight miss, and it's a pile up on the goal mouth of the Harriers, and somehow they survive.
Feels like somebody said a free buffet in my department there for that one. Everybody came out to play. But surprising to some extent here. And you know what here? I think somebody might need to tell the Vulcans here to let Charlie score a banger this evening if they want to see this video survive the YouTube here still. So you might want to tell them quickly, go.
Oh, what a clearance, by the way, from Frosty, coming into his own net and had really no choice but to put that into the near post or face a goal. There is the empty net, and it is Halves off the left-hand side. Phenomenal finish. Took his time, measured the shot, seen that it was coming to him, and it was a great effort. Frosty couldn't quite get back. There was not a third man there for the Harriers. And their good start, still a good start, but we are all square at the 341 point.
It's nice to finally see it poised eventually. So And you know, when Jeromas went off the pitch here, it is noticeable that the structure isn't as refined. But you know, when you sort of shake things around here, eventually, you know, it will come out to play here. But I mean, we quite actually talked about this back with the Pro League in what, for 7 or 8, if memory serves me correctly here, without digging out my old memory notes, if it was an old Champions League final or, you know, back in the early noughties here. You know, Bale was a player, what we just talked about, mechanics, and, you know, will he that sort of translate really over into the threes game as well? How well can he cope and do here? To some extent here, I think we may have been, you know, focusing, let's say, on the wrong player. He just seems to be naturally suited to this.
He does, and it's a difficult one with Bale because everybody is aware, you know, just how mechanical he is, and it's not a secret for anybody. The kid is talented, and he's one of the players that in the whole RAF, by the way, that we feel has, you know, alongside Envy, the highest skill ceiling of anybody. Like, those two players, in my opinion, right now in the RAF, as Jonesy slots it away beautifully into that top right-hand side corner. You know, we all feel that, you know, Envy and Stale are at the upper limit of in terms of ceiling. Like, they both have incredible attitudes towards the game. They're constantly grinding, they constantly work hard. The difference for, I think right now for Bale is his game sense, his understanding isn't there yet, which is fine. That is what this exact scenario is for. His mindset, though, and his attitude towards the game will fix that if he continues to work on it, which he is at this moment in time. You know, in management, at the management level of the RAF Stormshadows community, we're looking at Bale constantly because, and just assessing him every time he plays a show match and seeing the differences because he's making huge strides. If he can keep it up, in 3-4 years' time, we could be seeing one of the best players in the RAF, in my opinion.
Or don't say that, Envy may get a bit jealous here, the spotlight being taken
One
off
of.
Has the award show happened this year already, or right?
It has happened. It has. It happened at the inter-services, but it happened off stream. I sort of held a little Discord stream as well whilst I was doing it. But it was a little bit scuffed for the people that are watching on Discord. But we did hold it, and the awards were won by. I mean, which is there an award in particular that you'd like to know who won?
I was wondering who was, you know, the best player of the RAF this year here, because I know we debated this a fair bit, but how did the community end up voting about it?
It was, I think, so Envy won UK Armed Forces Player of the Year. He also won Offensive MVP. I think he also won Most Mechanical as well. So I would probably say that is probably the. I think he also did win Players Player of the Year as well. So I think that speaks for itself. Envy with pretty much a clean sweep of things. One thing I do want to highlight is his defensive MVP was voted to be Samez. And do you know what? Samez's player, by the way, as that one just dangerously spits across the Harriers goal line. Samez is a player who has believed in his own ability, by the way, from day one, constantly telling us his plans to make the Storm Shadows one day and to be involved at the very top of RAF Rocket League. Well, Danny, he got his chance. He got his chance for the Storm Shadows. And do you know what? He was phenomenal and was vital alongside Cedric and Envy in bringing home the 3 vs 3 Inter-Service Championship. It was phenomenal.
I feel like this is a full podcast, you know, topic on its own regard here still in terms of how that's going to be, as it's 4-1 already here, so you know, as this game sort of dying its way through the final embers of game 2, you know, it just sort of shows that, you know, everything that we've been looking at, talking about, we feel like we can pick a moment of history here when you eventually, you know, essentially say that what has happened here. You know, at one point, you know, we said G Wood here, Logan here, most mechanical player, and where we barely even touched him in the 1v1 scene, by the way, into the top 4 conversation. So, you know, quite fair here to say Bale maybe in a year or 2 time could be in that category.
I mean, certainly that is the trajectory that is there for him if he keeps working at it. But, do you know, and that is the beauty of RAF Rocket League and the depth we have in the community. Now, this is roster 5 and 6 currently. 6 rosters, and by the way, we're not done there. Like, this is, you know, the start of even more rosters coming into the fray. we're looking at potentially 7 and 8 by, you know, midway through 2026 before the Pro League land. And it's exciting times to be around this scene, and I'm so proud of it. And to watch the Vulcans now, you know, in this new form, and the Harriers just coming fresh out of being the development side, who, by the way, are the first 4 players in history to come out of the dev team as a fully fledged roster, is crazy. Like, it's a phenomenal thing to be a part of. But yeah, the future is very bright here for this community.
You're going to have to correct me here. The last development team, was it only 2 that went stuck together, or was it 3?
The last development team had, I think it was Miss Blaze. We had a couple of players that just unfortunately couldn't commit the time that was required, and they just couldn't essentially make the cut, and they never quite progressed out of that development roster. They remained a development roster. This is the first 4 players to actually sort of, you know, like break into a roster and be officially called one. This is the RAF Harriers, which, by the way, Danny, we've never had that name before. It's quite an exciting name.
That was my next question, still, in terms of how did it come about. I remember we literally sat as Roma slots that one in nicely. You know, I sat there and said to you here, you know, as much as the colours are nice here, when doing the commentary here, you know, something a bit more personal. I mean, you know, how, you know, the likes of the Storm Shadows came about, but, you know, something a bit more with a bit of punch to it. So I'll ask you this quite literally here. Harriers, where does it actually come from?
Of course, the Harrier is I'll go 2 ways. The aircraft itself is a beautiful aircraft, one of my favourite. Of course, no longer in service, but it was a strong asset in previous RAF history, shall I say. And as for how it was picked, well, when we gave the good news to the roster, this development side, or the Harriers as we now call them, that they were officially a roster and had made the cut after numerous weeks of hard work and scrims and practice together. Well, we gave them the option. We said, well, you know, pick a few aircraft. I think that the name RAF Reapers was asked for, but there is a Reapers in a different esport within the RAF, so that was taken. And I think it was, I believe it was Jamie Hayes, who isn't playing tonight for the Harriers, which is a big loss for them, as represented too, who suggested and had the name Harriers ready. So potentially anticipating the good news, and that was how it was. That's how it came about, and so the Harriers were born.
Fair enough here, and you know, with the potential threats looming, shall we say, of 7 and 8 here, is the RAF Twitter here going to be teasing what the potential next names are going to be here? I'm trying to work out what would be the sort of a possible, you know, set here that's going to be called.
Great finish, by the way, from Frosty. Look at that. It was Youngie who made the chance initially, and Frosty RL. That is a phenomenal finish off that right-hand side. And it's 2-1, and they are back in it. But in terms of names, there's only a limited amount of aircraft, you know, that existed in the RAF, but there is an abundance of them. So the likes of the Protectors potentially, maybe even the Spitfires or the Lancasters. There's all sorts of aircraft that you could possibly do. Typhoons, I don't think, has been taken by any of the other sports, so it could be also a shout. Time will tell, though.
But that would be a great design for a T-shirt or the jersey, by the way. A Typhoon.
Really would. I mean, it actually has happened. The blue RAF Esports jerseys, not the Storm Shadows ones, the RAF Esports Association jerseys have a beautiful Typhoon design. I've actually got one. It's phenomenal. I'll show it to you at a later point. It's really nice.
Well, I'll even touch on them further this bit here as well. Back in my childhood, like maybe many of yous here, when Robot Wars was a popular thing back in BBC
Great show. Great show.
The RAF had an entry as well, where the robot itself was Typhoon, where the blue jersey was worn as well.
I did not know that. I now need to go and research this after this commentary is over with. That is crazy ball knowledge from you. But
I may have been sitting on that for some time, by the way, still. So there you go.
I'm going to be researching that straight off the bat. I will tell you that from now. But indeed, for now, it is still 2-1 to the RAF Vulcans here. Game 3, they maintain the 3-goal lead. This game will be for 4 token points and for 5th position if they all take this and the next. But the Harriers, much improved, I think it's fair to say, Danny Boy, since that opening 5-goal spell in the first sort of minute and a half in game 1. They've looked a different team since then. They've been battling against this Vulcan side. They found success, and if they can maintain at least touching distance with the Vulcans, that 1-goal lead is not a safe bet.
I'm a wee bit worried here where the current new Tempest lineup, because they're sitting fourth, based on the fact that they
Third.
were disbanded. Is it third? So who's
Third,
sitting fourth at the
yes.
moment?
So currently in 4th is the RAF Hurricanes.
So Jack Cuddles, Alex, and JDS here. I mean, if you're the Vulcans potentially on paper, I would throw that token challenge in right now.
Of course, they can get past them, right? I mean, this one's not quite over yet, although it is looking almighty like that. That will be an open net if the Romans could get there past the car of Frosty. No, not that time. Frosty collects the boost now in towards Youngie and Spen. Oh wait, I think Jamie Hayes is playing tonight. I think he is Frosty RL, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but that does seem like the playstyle of Jamie Hayes that we saw, potentially playing on a different account, maybe even a different setup as well, as you can all see them as well.
All over again here. All these name changes, who's who here. Quickly get on Wikipedia.
I didn't realise it. I didn't put 2 and 2 together until I saw Charlie Sierra off the pitch, and I realised, well, he can only be on the pitch if that's the case, but they're putting him under pressure. They're searching for the equaliser here, and it could very well come. Here's the chance for Frosty, and there is the equalising goal. There is the comeback complete for the RAF Harriers. They remained in touching distance this whole time, and now they are threatening to get their first game on the board if, and it's a big if, they can find one more goal in this next 30 seconds or risk the dreaded overtime for 4 token points.
I was, being very polite this evening here in terms of, not, potentially pointing out the very most experienced player missing a center defensively. I thought this isn't going to be costly. Well, how wrong I was here in that OT. She said, yes, it is looming here, and how good is the defense here? It's Frosty was essentially a free net there. Infield ball, surely, and well, that's a lot of space still to be blocked here.
Oh, I mean, the idea was there. There was probably a comm that was a one-way comm. I think the last man was just a little bit too far back to receive that pass. A Spen goes up. Oh, it's a bit of a misflip. Jonesy at the near post. Frosty there just to calm things down. Back in towards Youngie. Youngie with a bit of a misread. Stephen Andrews onto the backboard. Will there be a Vulcans player? There was. It's centred and away by Spen.
Stopped quite nicely here, but control, patience, not rushing out here, and what the the Harriers are doing. So they out right here, they're not necessarily pouncing into the corner, closing down, which is necessarily a problem. But we're sort of giving a bit of grace here. They are that young roster passing play upfield, and again it's Jerome sitting on the backboard waiting. Deals it, moves across here. I can't remember off the top of my head. For 100% certainty, was Pegasus and yourself and Stale talking about the shadows literally on that inter-services, or a GC2 player at one stage here, the qualities and everything else being put across here. Jerome is the man sitting back third, for the majority of the match, picking the pass, moving across here. And it's a learn the other two to have this freedom upfield here, which is a learn essentially of a bit of free range here.
Yeah, it's a different role that Jeromus has to fill now, away from the RAF Shadows. He's got to find his own identity. That's a wonderful effort by Halves, onto the crossbar and down, and followed it up again. Couldn't quite find the connection. Jonesy's shot, though, comes through, and Spen able to clear. Spen comes off the backboard again. A bit of a misjudgment. It's almost a triple commit from the RAF Vulcans. The Harriers have got to be slightly more careful, slightly more controlled and communicative in those exact kind of environments, in those exact situations. There's the shot! Again from Halves, and a phenomenal save by Youngie, but the pressure still inside the Harriers half.
I'm surprised that Jonesy took his time on that one. He could have had a shot pelted across here, infield pass, and Jonesy's actually turned the wrong way here. It was a free, essentially, cross-field pass if they wanted to go for it, or the shot itself. And it's just essentially here the Vulcans themselves are tempered to some extent here. They're not actually pulling the trigger outright. That's another attempt here being squashed away here. And so far, and this is no disrespect to Charlie, who's sitting the bench out on this game here, it's the Harriers' actually best game so far and line up the 3 we've seen so far this evening.
Yeah, the Harriers are looking really dangerous now. They're hunting for what would be a lifeline in the series, for what will be a 2-1 game. It's Youngie with a bit of a whiff. Can Frosty get there? And he can. Jonesy denied, but it's a wonderful pass from Roman into Halves, and the chance goes a-begging He was at the far post, a clear shooting opportunity, just wide. At the other end, it's Sven who flashes the ball across the face of the goal. And this time it's the Vulcans' turn to survive.
So, unfortunately, I may have not been around here outright in these days when Stale was just merely doing commentary in the Discord with a screen share here with the idea of the Reds and the Whites team, but the same passion still goes across no matter what his team's there. Stale, it's only a token match at 5th and 6th spot. Calm down.
You got to die for the 3 points, Danny. You got to die for the 3 points. And this is what both of these two sides are doing. You can see they're going at it. And for the Vulcans, shaky territory, unknown territory for them against a team they've never faced before. This is currently the unknown quantity of the Royal Air Force roster, this Harriers side, who are taking it to the RAF Vulcans after what could only be said to be a dreadful start. They've recovered, but they're looking pretty much danger now. There's the opportunity for Stephen Andrews for halves, and he breaks Harriers' hearts. It's 3-2 the final scoreline here in Game 3, created by Doromus, finished by halves, and what a double bump that was from Doromus. Couldn't have played it better. 3-0. The Harriers will be devastated by that one because they played really well. And for the Vulcans, a big win when you look at momentum. Quality from them.
So, it certainly is, and it's on paper here based on what I'm seeing. It's the Harriers' best 3, and yeah, the thought was over. Famous last words, some would say. But I think Vulcans probably to some extent here. Beal is the player that needs to be on the pitch here. So I think the Vulcans are still trying to find their quality 3 at the moment. I think that needs to be stated here just on this match alone. But, I think people will be surprised me telling Stale to be, calm here. I'm the same person here, shouts passion and scream, words to dedication. And, make sure if you're going to go for a 2-footed tackle, leave the stud in for an extra second to make sure that you know that they're there. At the moment here, the Vulcans is doing everything here that you're wanting to see for a side that on paper is the favourites attacking, having their opportunities here. And the Harriers, likewise on the other side, defending like their lives depend on it. And I use this for quotations, it's only a token match. To them here, it feels like it's almost the inter-services grand final, which is to some extent what you wanted to see in the first place.
Well, the Harriers, now that they are an official roster, are eligible for, qualification attempts into, the likes of the Inter-Services 2026 season, the BFBS Pro League Open qualifiers for next year when eventually that happens. It's now a different world for them as they take the lead again. Frosty with the goal in, I'm not quite sure what car that is, by the way, Danny.
A mistake. It's the I want to say, what's the Jurassic Park one? What's the name of that car?
The Dingo, is it? Dingo is something else, right?
Dingo. It's along that line. I hate it. I just don't like it, and therefore I'll dislike the player for it. That's how easily my opinions are formed sometimes.
Oh, poor guy. Oh, that's a bit of a weird touch back towards Youngie's own net, but Frosty gets the bump on the Romus now. Interesting battle between those two players. Spen, limited on boost, avoids a demo from Doromus. Jonesy will come across, collects possession. Doromus flicks infield. Youngie couldn't quite get there, and Frosty lurked and sniffed out the danger well. Snail, or Bale, goes for a musty. Can he get a second reset? No, he can't. Jonesy takes over the play. Spen clears. Doromus left, slightly stranded. Great touch by Spen. Can he get there for the second touch? No, he can't. Doromus recovers very well.
I'm going to have to test your aircraft knowledge here, Stale. What's the slowest aircraft in the RAF?
Ooh. Do you know, I'm going to have to go for, potentially, something like the Grob Tutor, which is the Phase 2 aircraft for pilots. Like, they all have to fly that exact aircraft. That's the first thing they do. It's like an elementary flying training thing. That, I think, is, oh my god, Frosty loops that one dangerously towards Vulcan net, just high. But I think it is the Grob. I probably am wrong. There's probably a niche aircraft I'm not remembering. But at least currently in service, that would be my guess.
What a horrible name that is to say for a team here. I literally sat there and said before a ball got kicked here. And, Bale was quite proud of being the opposite of, somebody who's, fast and being called Snail. and you had originally a player once got called the slowest here. So I'm just trying to work out, is there anyone that would match the theme of the names here? But I think they might want to stick to the Vulcans in comparison to that.
I think so too. I think so too. And you know what? I think it's fair to say, Danny, for the relative skill level of the RAF Harriers in comparison to the Vulcans on paper, the gap is on paper pretty big. But as you can see, oh no.
Oh yes.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
As you were saying, still.
My heart is in my mouth for poor Youngie. I don't think he was aware of what was behind him. I'm not sure what the communication was between the two players. I believe that was destined for the back of the net, and he saves it. And unfortunately, as is the nature of Rocket League, the sucker punch was instant, and we're back to 1-1, and that could be potentially the nail that broke the straw that broke the camel's back if the Harriers can no longer fight anymore. Time will tell. They're still searching for a goal to take them back in front, but that is going to play havoc with their mindset going to the last portion of this game.
I hope it doesn't here, but you know, you gotta laugh or cry here. That's a very good attempt here by Jonesy. Moves across here, and you know, briefly here, took a quick look there. You know, G Wood and Sam has moved across here. They're, to some extent, it'd be interesting. Do they ever remember their first match back when it was the tokens for them? I know how they felt moved across here. Essentially, what would be for these players right now here is the sort of, encapsulates that moment here. A mistake like that could, be devastating factors here. But Harkins, since Charlie's been off here, they've either had to come back, done so, and have led for a majority of the game 4 here. To some extent here, they're doing very well here. The question you always have to ask yourself is, why are we panicking? How do we control that? And to some extent here, as you're opening the match, to have that question thrown at you to give as much time as you can here, because essentially this is like the Christmas Day sort of football match you've seen back in the day here, but then you're off for another 2 weeks or holiday break here. So you've got time to think about that particular problem here.
Yeah, and it's a strange time. I think it comes down to it being their first game under real pressure. Like, it's not a show match. This is a match with stakes on it. And so it's always going to be a bit different. So Youngie comes across, rolls it into the back of the net. And my God, has he made up for the earlier error. Popping up with a goal at the vital time. Good work from Spen. Youngie rolls it past Jonesy. He was perhaps expecting a bit of a snappier shot, but it was clever. It was deliberate. And it is 2-1 with 4 seconds to play here for the RAF Harriers.
Joe, if we had to vote for the goal of the match so far here, it's either the pass and play from Jeromas, originally from Bale, or that fake to delay the defence to essentially move across here. Do you know what here? Fair play to you. To simply move across here. Timeouts, is that available here for token matches?
It is. It's now a thing. Yep. Now a thing. It's a new rule that we implemented in the inter-services for technical timeout and indeed for tactical timeouts, and they now have a 2-minute clock, which gives us a little bit of a chance to reflect on the series so far. Now, again, it was a lightning start for the RAF Vulcans, racing to a 5-goal lead inside that game 1. But do you know what? Since then, other than the odd spell here or there, I feel like the Harriers have done really well, given their experience, given the rank differential on paper. This is, again, for the second time in a row, Danny, I think, a performance they could be really proud of.
Absolutely. Look, you might look at sort of the opening games here, a sort of a complete blowout, and you might chalk that up as disparity, slow starts, and everything else. But at the end of the day, people will only look at the sort of the final results. If it's a 4-0, they're sort of going, well, we were right. 4-3, you might go to the question, what happened for a timeout here? Players have joined the pitch very quickly here still.
I shall be pausing.
Oh yeah, we got the fancy new admins who.
Oh yeah.
Joe Grandpa here slowly getting dementia here. I'm on the but Joe, that's sort of bit of the question. Sort of how do you sort of review the match here at this point? the Harriers have got better as the game has got on here, and for the Vulcans to sort of go, no, one of the key bits of it, when you are the team dominant, when you are the one lead here, you have to kill the match off. You do not let them get back into it. When you have a 1-goal lead, you make sure you have 2. Simple as that, really. And then suddenly here, you got 3-0 championships points essentially on the lines. You know, do you let them slip here? And suddenly this is the door wide open here. So the question actually, if you're sitting here, if you're Jeromus as the in-game leader, do they put Charlie back onto the pitch here, or do they let them play out with the 3 that's currently got games off us?
Well, I could be wrong, but I think he was on the pitch for that last game. I could be wrong. Somebody in the chat correct us if I'm wrong.
I don't think Charlie was on it.
Bale, stay.
So I don't think Charlie was on for the last 2 for the Hurricanes.
For the Hurricanes?
Yeah.
They're not on the pitch, mate. Hurricanes. You mean Harriers? Or... Oh, Charlie
Harriers,
Sierra.
Yes, that's Charlie.
Oh, sorry. Because Charlie is Bale's actual name. So all this time I'm thinking you're on about him. Right, yeah. Interesting, actually. Yeah, no, sorry. It's an interesting decision. I wonder what the Harriers will do. I wonder what they are talking about in the timeout, to be fair. They're taking all 2 minutes, which, by the way, I think is great. Timeout is there to be used for this exact reason. So what do you think will be said?
I'll move that question and I'll answer it maybe into the game itself. We'll sit here and say I'll cue Stale here, albeit a crafty technician here for the RAF. And he's going to be blushing here. You don't see, and I've watched, by the way, here, the British Army's streams on the 6-mans or their show matches, or the Orcas, or not the Orcas, the Navy. I'm not cheating with you on the RAF before you get worried. But they can do the timeouts or anything. It's, you know, bang straight in here. We're here in the RAF here. They're already thinking about, you know, the road to Germany here, or the inter-service, or the pro.
Absolutely.
You know, how can we, you know, get something in here? And you know, I'm sitting here sort of thinking, we've got a timeout here on a token match for the 5th and 6th spot here, and no disrespect to them, they aren't the ones who are going to be challenging for trophies here, but we're already sitting here looking at how we can get a competitive advantage, obviously within the rules. I'm not saying anything else here, but it's quite literally sort of going, how can we get them familiar from, let's just say, an early age here? You're looking from an education point, and for the 3rd consecutive game here, Frosty's got the goal for them.
And once again, it's an almighty start from the RAF Harriers, racing into a 1-goal lead. As you've quite rightly stated, 3 times in the last 3 games has this occurred. And whatever was said in that timeout, whether it was Charlie Sierra taking the lead on that, they look a different team already and have doubled the lead. Jeromus left to scramble towards the ball into his own net, and a failed read from Snail left Jeromus exposed. And it's Frosty who makes all but sure that ball flies in to the back of the net. It's 2-0, and the Harriers couldn't do it, could they? Surely not.
Well, now the major question on Jeromus' shoulders as an IGL for his first ever match here. Let's put it this way here, where he once had Kirk and Steve here, very 2 experienced people in their own right, you know, making the calls here. Do you drop a player? Do you stick them on the bench, or do you sit there and stick with it? They'll grab 1 goal back here when they're chasing the game here. You know, do you stick with the game plan of 1 in, 1 out, or do you then sort of go, lads, for our own sake here, let's close the job out?
Interesting times for this new Vulcan side, who, to their credit, have been on top the majority of the series as a whole. And Jonesy looks to equalise and bring it back up to level pegging. And no, the shot from Jeromus as well onto the crossbar. There goes Bale, goes high, goes for the read, doesn't get that Youngie just in front of the play that time. Spen has an awkward ball to deal with, but he manages the clear in towards Frosty. And by the way, Danny, Spen and Frosty, if that is indeed Jamie Hayes, have a rich history playing Rocket League in general together. So their chemistry as a duo is really good. As that one again, so awkward for Spen to deal with. But again, he is there. Jeromus drops it down into the penalty area, and there's a great clearing touch by Youngie, who just flicks it over Bale and now brings it down the left-hand side. Bale is there on hand to clear. In towards Youngie again, who cuts back the ball to Spen. Spen will go up for the aerial dribble. Can he beat Jonesy? He can. Infield towards Jamie Hayes, who gets beaten to it by Doromus.
Well, you know, about sort of 20, 30 seconds ago in sort of the second phase of play here with the Vulcans sort of line up, I'm going to have to sort of call Doromus out to some extent here. He actually caught the sort of the third man in the play here who had the better angle, options left to right of the net here, and could do something probably a bit more than slicing yourself into the rotation for the quick shots here. I'm not saying here experience is, you know, vital in matches, but when you're sitting here, you know, questioning here your own ability as a team here, because it is some to the degree, you don't make mistakes like that when you are on top. They just happen naturally. That there should be a little opening sign here. Charlie has his eye out, so going, lads, don't make a mistake here and just keep playing here.
And the thing about Charlie is he does have a lot of sort of knowledge. He has got ball knowledge. He's aware of RLCS. He watches it regularly. He knows what good gameplay looks like. He knows what good comms sound like. You know, we've given him the insights into professional RLCS where possible. Obviously, he's watched the teams that I've coached, and he knows how it works. He's had the exposure to it, as there is an equalizer from Doromus, but he will know exactly what to be telling his players from the sidelines. He will know how to direct them. It's whether it can be followed on the pitch. So far here in game number, I think it's 5 now, they have followed it well. They race into a 2-goal lead, but the hardest thing in the world can be putting the lead away, dispatching the other team when you've got them on the ropes. The Vulcans have fought back wonderfully, and they're showing their class now. They're showing their experience. Can they find the killer touch, the killer instinct? There's a mistake from, I think it's Jamie Hayes. What a double attempt by Jonesy, but Doromus has to be on cleanup duty. Beats one. Jonesy and Jamie Hayes trade demos. Youngie comes up the pitch, flicks towards left-hand side. Jonesy tries to read it, does just that. Roman too quick there for Jamie. Spen loops it high and very awkwardly towards the Vulcan net. Frosty into Youngie. Great effort, great save.
Right, there's, you know, double commits coming left, right, and centre here, and that's another save of the opposite nets here in quick concession here, and you know, back it goes straight all the way down here. And you know what, with time going across here, so I have to say the Harriers are actually probably the side that I'm actually looking forward to the third, and probably breaks the deadlock, which might surprise a few people here. You know, Sally is quite sitting there saying, you know, the Vulcans have been the side on top here. They've been the side that, you know, arguably has the threat, the ability, the mechanics to put this game away here. But they're making basic mistakes here, what will cost them.
And there is the chance to make them pay again. A beautiful save by Spen. Jonesy rises with just enough boost. That was a dangerous challenge to make, but he timed it well to perfection, which leaves Roman with a chance. Going for a disgusting skim attempt. Connects with it. But it must be said, the save from Spen was excellent as Jonesy loops it high into Stale. Can he bury the Vulcan Harriers? And he does just that. 3-2 on 0 seconds. A buzzer beater goal from Bale. And the Vulcans take 5th.
Oh, and it's to some extent here, NVS, shall we put it here, with Bale's finish in there. You know, I remember what the first ever game he played under the Storm Shadows officially, and it was on the inter-service. You know, the Tempest here when there was, you know, a goal away here from, you know, knocking them off the top spot here. Vulcans themselves here, and I'll be very polite here, you know, Doromus did not impress me today, and that's not to say he didn't play well here. The best player on the pitch here by a mile has been the man that put that opening and final goal here to this evening, and that's Bale here.
I mean, that was a phenomenal goal to end proceedings. Under pressure, and if you look at the boost meter that he had, he really didn't have a lot to work with. He had to feather his boost perfectly, managed it well, and then used the last bits to line up his car with the ball off the backboard, and he puts it down into the back of the net. Remember, it was 0 seconds. It had to land in the net, and no less. If it touched the floor, half in, half out, we would be in overtime right now, and God knows the Harriers were searching for a game 6. Instead, he's played it perfectly, and that is the potential of Bale. The clutch moments he can produce mean he can win games for his team just like that. The Vulcans roster has unlimited potential, but on the other side of the pitch, so do the Harriers. Right at the start of their journey, literally yesterday was their first show match, straight into a token match. You've got to credit them for taking the game as well. They could have had time, they could have played the 2-week time limit. They could have prepared, had more time to prepare, but they realized some players will be out of action over the Christmas break and some deployments, so they took it, they faced it, and they almost did something special.
And Joe, watch here, for the development side or the Hurricanes, one way you want to sort of put it here, they've actually taken the pressure off their back already. So go, all right, the team here, the beating us at their moves across here, but they're just going to be the piranhas in the water. They'll nibble at your heels here, and once you make that mistake, and once they actually get that, a bit of experience here, but if the Pro League does come around here, they'll be playing against a lot more teams. A lot more experience going to be, dived in here. Potentially, obviously, a lot more show matches or even talk matches themselves here coming in 2026 here still. They will get better with time. That's obvious. It's just a question on how quickly is that going to be here. And I think it's, for the first time I can sit there and say this here, it's probably going to be the fastest, generation we're going to see step up very quickly here.
And it won't be all either. Plenty of players coming through that we aren't quite ready to talk about just yet. But for tonight, it is all about the RAF Vulcans and the RAF Harriers. Put on a fantastic show, fantastic best of 7. It did in the end finish 4-1 to the RAF Vulcans, and a massive congratulations to them as they take home 5th position above them, the RAF Hurricanes. What will we see when we come back from the Christmas break? Time will tell. But from myself and my wonderful partner on commentary, firstly, thank you so much, Danny Boy, for your time and efforts. It's always a pleasure. Genuinely, always is. But we wish you a happy Christmas, a happy New Year, and we'll see you in 2026 to see how the next year of RAF Rocket League plans out. Take care.